What it do, y'all, and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, your girl wanted to come on here and talk to you guys about this latest 3 Looks 1 palette. For today's 3 Looks 1 palette, your girl is going to be showcasing the Glaminatrix Cosmetics Nocturnal palette. Now, this is not my first soiree when it comes to Glaminatrix Cosmetics. I have tested out their products when they were in Etsy based brand only, and they were only releasing single shadows. So I have a pretty significant experience testing out their formulation. I have also done multiple looks on some of their actual palettes. I think this is only my second palette that I picked up from them. I just never got around to getting the Sandra Rose before it was discontinued, but I did do, at least I know, one full-on dedicated video with this brand, and I will go ahead and have that link down below in case you want to see kind of the comparison between my opinions on this palette and the previous palette. Like I said, today we're going to be talking about the Nocturnal palette, and as always, let's get into the product details. So in the product details, I wanted to showcase the packaging. The packaging is very, very simple. It is just this nice dark green packaging with gold lettering that literally says Glaminatrix Cosmetics Nocturnal. There's absolutely no information on the back at all. And so on the palette, we just have this faux green leather, and once again is etched in just saying Glaminatrix Cosmetics Nocturnal palette. Once again, there's absolutely no information on the back of this palette, but I did pull up their website, so I do want to give you guys some of their information that they provide there. They state that this palette consists of 5 duochromes and 7 matte eyeshadows or pigments. They recommend using a glitter glue or a primer when using the shimmers because they are of a thicker texture. The pans are 26.5 millimeter pans that hold 1.5 to 2 grams of product per pan. The pans are actually magnetized in this packaging, so you can easily remove or rearrange with a magnet. And like I said, the packaging is also a synthetic leather with a magnetic closure. If you're wondering the cost of this palette costs $53.87 in USD. I don't know the conversion for others. I think in AUD it's somewhere around 80, I believe. So on the inside of my palette, it looks quite beat up, mainly because that's how it was delivered. As you can see, 3 of my shadows were disturbed in shipping. There also was a clear little sheet to kind of try to protect the shadows, and I will say, in my opinion, they did have quite a bit of packaging in the actual package, but it still came to me quite damaged. But thankfully, because of the formulation, I was able to kind of push them in. I will say though, because these were kind of blown in this palette, I did find that in blending some of my eyeshadows today, I did have some shimmers in those shades. I don't know if it's from my highlighter. I do have a glittery highlighter on today, but I don't find that this happens when I wear my glittery highlighter, and I've been wearing this for months now. So I did just kind of want to give you guys that kind of overview. Now what we're going to do is just jump into the actual swatches. I will of course have on screen right now my Instagram worthy swatch picture. When I do these swatches, I do build up the actual shades. Typically I will swatch the actual individual shade 2 to 3 times to build up the pigmentation, so just be aware of that. But other than that, let's just go into the actual swatches, and then we will go into the tutorial and then round her up with the kind of current thoughts. I always do have timestamps down below, so in the event that you want to just skip to any one part, you can feel free. And I didn't say it before, but I bought this with my own money. This was not sent to me in PR, and I do not have a code with this brand. Okay, let's get into it. Alrighty guys, so it is that time of the video where I want to show the swatches and a little bit up close of the packaging. As I said, this is the cardboard packaging, nothing fancy at all. Then this is the faux leather packaging, and This is what the inside of my palette currently looks like. This is between the shipping, and then also I have now done 2 of my 3 looks. So there's been quite some disturbances with some of these shadows. These 4 came kind of broken because of shipping though. So as always, what I want to do is I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. I'm going to show you the swatches on my complexion. I also did pull the one palette that I previously picked up from the brand, which is the Silent Night palette. I have done a 3 looks 1 palette with this, and I have done swatches, so in case you're interested, I would say check those out. And then I also picked out 2 of the singles that I picked up even before that. So I wanted to kind of do a little bit of comparisons after I do the main swatches, and I will do timestamps and hopefully do a different timestamp for the comparison section in the event that you don't want to watch that and you want to just skip from these swatches to the actual tutorials. Last thing I want to mention, these are the nails that have been in my Instagram stories saga, so in the event that you're interested, check that out. But I will also try my best to link down below the nails as long as they're still available at Ulta. Okay, let's zoom out and let's get to swatching. I did forget to mention, but there is a natural light over here and then just the ceiling light over here, just so that you guys know. And we will go from row to row. First in the row, we have Milky Way. This is a very, very pretty duochrome shade. It has pink to blue shift in it. It's very, very pretty. Next, we have Night Vision, another kind of metallic, although this is a lot smoother. The previous one was a lot more made of like glitter. This one is definitely more of a smooth metallic, and this looks to be just a straight up green that has a blackened base. Very, very pretty. First matte, we have Witching Hour. And this is just a kind of aubergine or eggplant deep rich matte purple. Next we have Luna. And Luna is a more opaque duochrome in this palette, and this goes from a really warm purple to shimmer to a pretty cool tone blue, and this overall I think has a blackened base. It's a very, very pretty. Then we have Fog, and Fog is a yellow. It's more of a kind of sunset version of a yellow. It's not as bright of a yellow as like a primary yellow, but it is a very, very pretty one. And then last in this row, we have Gloom. And Gloom is a brown with a very strong green undertone to it. You guys know I love these shades. I love them a lot. All right, continuing on, we have Obscurity, which is like a periwinkle blue. This is a really good pigmentation level for this type of shade. Really, really nice blue. Then we have Murky, which is like a lime green. Next we have Dusk. And this is another duochrome. This has orange to this like burgundy-ish shade, and I think this does kind of have a slightly deepened base, but it's not as obviously blackened as this one over here. Then we have Nightfall. Then we have Constellation. Very, very pretty. This is like a green metallic, but it also has sparkles in it. It's really, really pretty. Very, very pretty. And then the last shade in the palette is Shadow. And don't mind if you see any glitter on that one. It is a true matte black. I just might have had some glitter that didn't fully come off when I wiped my hands off. So yeah, this is the palette. Alrighty guys, so what I'm going to do is clean off my arm, and then we'll get into some comparisons, some opinions when it comes to the other formulas that I have from this brand. So this is the new palette, which is the Nocturnal palette. This is the Silent Night palette, and these are two singles. As I talked to you guys before, the singles weren't there was no labeling on the back of them, unfortunately, but I kept them because the formula was just so nice. So it is a smooth metallic formula. There was never any glitter in the formula of these singles, at least the ones that I picked up. I did pick up quite a few others, but I realized that I just needed to show you guys some comparisons. And then these were two that I quickly picked out of my collection just based on how much product was actually in the pan and what it looked like. It just reminded me of what I remembered these singles to look like. When it comes to the shimmers and the mattes here, they have two different formulas here. They have this like smoother metallic formula in this Silent Night palette, okay, which is this one. But even in this smoother formula, they have now begun to add in glitters. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think this one is a lot more smooth. This one doesn't have any glitter in it, so I guess I could have watched that one, and I guess I still can to show you. Whereas they started to implement the idea of putting glitter in their shimmers or their metallics in this palette. Like I said, I don't have the Sandra Rose, so these are the only kind of comparisons that I can give you guys. But these were the money makers in this palette overall, these two. And I'll just swatch one so you guys can see. And this was like an uber metallic, uber glittery. Well, I wouldn't say metallic. It was just like uber glittery. And it looked so reflective on the eye. It was also a mad multi-chrome. I loved those two shades for the palette. And that was just kind of my haven. As for the mattes, they were really nice. This one wasn't as pigmented as these two, but overall, so this one wasn't as pigmented as these three, but overall, all of the mattes were really nice. And I love that this was kind of an even split, even though I do prefer more mattes. I like that if somebody didn't know kind of how to do makeup correctly, they could just kind of pair it with something that was really close, either down the line or to the right. So I really like that. As for this formula, I find that they once again have mixed with kind of the formulations where they have some that are more smooth, okay, and then they have some that are a lot more glittery. Overall, I don't think that they are going to there are definitely not as many smoother metallics in this one. I think they're leaning more towards this kind of glittery finished formula, which just adds more texture and is more unique for a lot of people's shimmer range. So I'm not mad at that by any means, but I definitely think that the mattes hold true and hold standard to this formula as well. There are a few mattes that definitely don't pick up to the brush or just in general aren't as pigmented. Murky and Fog are the two that come to mind. Shadow is extremely pigmented, so do keep that in mind as well. But overall, I think that this brand has been able to stay consistent with providing good quality formulations, but it's more of what the type of formula you personally are interested in. And so for that reason, you know, I just kind of wanted to give you guys these comparisons. The Silent Night palette is no longer limited edition, at least from what I can tell. It is actually currently on their website, and it seems to be more permanent than previously was. If the Sandra Rose palette is available when they launch their pre-order for the Naturally Nudes palette, I think I'm going to go ahead and pick it up. I am currently in the part of year where I'm only allowing myself 3 makeup purchases. But this is a brand that I truly enjoy, and it seems you guys enjoy me actually reviewing. So I think this is going to be 1 out of my 2 makeup purchases. It will be kind of crazy because they're launching that palette rather early on in the month of June, but you know, I really want to review this brand, and I'm actually very interested in that natural palette. So yeah, let's get into the 3 tutorials now, and then I will wrap this video up giving you guys my current thoughts overall when it comes to this palette. Hey guys, so let's just dive right on in. I don't want to spend too much time. First, what I'm going to do is just go ahead and prime my eye with my Natasha Denona base. I do just tend to blend this out with my fingers, but you can feel free to use a brush to blend out your primer. And if you have this primer, I do find that this kind of dries, or it applies wet, so I do need to either take some time to let it dry and or use a second finger to kind of get off some of that unnecessary excess wetness feeling. I don't really know how to describe it. And additionally, I did go ahead and set my brow bone area with my Project Pan shade, but I did that kind of after I did my initial blending, so we'll just go with that again today. Okay, so everything is primed. We are just going to dive in. I'm going to go in with the Wayne Goss 16, and I am going to go straight into the shade Fog. Now in pan, it looks rather bright, but at least in today's look, it came out quite murky yellow, and not like a super bright yellow. That's not a bad thing. It's just something to note in case you were kind of expecting it to be more of a brighter yellow. I think it works with the tones and the other shades that are in this palette. And it might also be the type of primer. I do try to test out my products with multiple primers just to see. But like I said, I just wanted to give you guys kind of that knowledge. So now that that is done, next what I did is I took a ColourPop E9 and I went into the shade Gloom. This is like one of my favorite shades in a palette. It's like a poopy green brown based tone, and I'm going to actually apply this all throughout the outer V area and the crease. This is going to be the main shade that you're going to ultimately end up seeing in the crease, and the yellow is going to be more of the transition shade. I like that. I like the depth that I was able to get with this shade alone, but you guys know me, I'm always going to try and get deeper and deeper, and I think I really was able to achieve a very nice depth with this palette ultimately. So as you saw, I kind of took Gloom on under my under eye, and I will just take a bit of Fog, which is that yellow, and kind of blend out ultimately that whole kit and caboodle. Okay, then what I'm going to do is take the Precision Firm Blender from Sigma, and I am going to kind of start to sketch my blackened area and that winged area as well. So I'm just going to go right into shadow, which is the black in this palette, and I am going to start by kind of sketching out a very rough wing, and kind of taking shadow over my lid. Now this is going to be perfected by a different brush, but I just want to kind of start the effect, and I'm also going to start to kind of blend out shadow in that outer V. Now to really make it kind of blend in with Gloom, I am just going to go back in with that brush and kind of just go over it to blend, and also kind of just make it look black but also not too harsh, you know. And I'm also going to just take shadow in the lower lash line to connect everything and to make the overall look nice and deep. Okay, now next what I'm going to do is start to kind of lay down my lid and inner corner, and I'm just using one shade for that, and that is the shade Constellation. So this is a really pretty shade. I am going to use a Sigma Detail blender, and I'm just going to use this to kind of pack and really precisely apply this shade to the lid. Out of all of the kind of blender brushes that I've used for this technique, I find that at least the combination of this shadow and this brush, I've gotten no fallout at all. So I really do like that. Okay, and then what I'm gonna do is once again just go back in and roughly apply shadow with this blending brush. I like to do it roughly because I don't want to start off too rough and apparent. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a Pro shader from Sephora Pro brand, and this is when I'm going to actually really intensify this wing liner situation. Now it's looking super dark, super murky, but I think the lashes just kind of added even more to it ultimately. So what I'm gonna do is just hop off camera. I'm gonna put a black LA Girl liner in my waterline and my tight line. I'm also gonna add my mascara, which is my Maybelline Sky High, and then I'm gonna throw on the other lash, and this is just the Sephora Lily Lashes Miami style. So I'm gonna do all of that really quickly, and then I'll come back to show you guys my finished look. Alrighty guys, so this is the finished look. I don't know about you guys, but I'm really feeling my look today. I feel like I really achieved the really dark, smoky queen, like swamp queen type of vibes with this dark, vampy situation. I forgot to set this brow bone highlight. So overall, really enjoying today's look. Like I said, today everything is Project Pan, except I combined with my NARS Liberté blush today, actually with the blush that I actually decluttered, and this is the LA Girl Just Fearless blush. So I mixed those two together. Everything else is Project Pan. Everything will be listed down below. I already told you guys my lashes. I will start to list down below as well. And that's all for this first look. Let's get into look number 2. Alrighty guys, so I'm here to bring you guys look number 2. I am vibing with the look, with the lashes, everything, and I'm very excited to show you guys how I got this look. Okay, so I primed with my Natasha Denona. You guys know I tend to just kind of gravitate towards her primer. It is the main primer that I have in my collection right now. First, I went into the shade Murky, which is this really beautiful lime green. I wanted to really test out the pigmentation level of this green, and so what I did is really just packed this all in the crease. If you pack it on too high, or you blend this particular shade too high, don't really worry about that. If you decide to set your brow bone with a matte shade like I do, you can really blend that out that way. I do just lightly go ahead and start kind of putting it on my outer V, and actually kind of slowly on this outer lower lash line as well. And today's shape, I had intended for it to kind of be more circular than normal. I usually tend to do a very angled, kind of sharp edge, but I was really trying to like round her out. I still don't think I was able to accomplish a different shape, but you know, you win some and you lose some. And if you're wondering, that was a Royal & Langnickel BMD 430 brush. Then what I'm going to do is go into my Morphe M506. I am just going to wipe it off, and you will see why in a second. First, what I'm going to do is go into Witching Hour, which is this really beautiful purple. Now I started off with that being the main crease shade, and As you will see, it took quite a bit of building, mainly because I put it on second, and that was like, I knew that was going to happen. I really wanted to make sure that I got the green in the overall look, and I knew I could either pack on this shade or kind of add a different shade to really get what I wanted. So what I'm going to do is just skip to the point where I really pack her on, to get kind of the amount of pigmentation that I want, just so that you guys don't have to sit here and watch that. Okay, so it didn't take as long on this eye to get that depth and dimension that I wanted. And as you can see, it's quite dark, but it's also quite harsh. There's no blend anywhere right now on my look. So what I'm going to do is take a Sigma E36 brush, and I'm just going to blend the outer edges. I did wipe this off, so there is no product on it, and I'm wiping it off on a microfiber towel that just so happens to be in my lap, in case you're wondering. Okay, and then what I'm gonna do is just take a bit of Murky and start by blending out that lower lash line, and then kind of just slightly go over the edges again. So that's kind of the overall blend when it comes to the purple to the green. I really love this color combination, but you know your girl wanted to go deeper, right? Okay, so what I began is kind of just mixing shadow in the mix, initially at this very bottom, and then just kind of blending it. I also do like to just add witching hour. I don't want this to turn into a whole black, so I like to kind of add witching hour into the mix when I am blending out that shadow, because it will of course give me the depth, but I don't want to just take all the depth and it to just turn into a black. I do want there to still at least be like a purple hue and still have that color combination of the purple and the green. So that's that. Really happy about that. Okay, so that's where we're going to leave the mattes as of right now. Then I'm actually going to take the only thing that I kind of have as a glitter glue. I did want to kind of attempt to do a more sophisticated cut crease today, and so this is the Clarity Cosmetics foiled eyeshadow glitter primer. I personally don't prefer this for glitter primer application. I personally just prefer it for plain eyeshadow application, but it purely is like the only thing that I have that won't affect the shade color, and kind of will give some form of tackiness. I do find that this is a very wet product though, so I do find that you have to like let it dry down and set a little bit. So now I'm just going, I just tapped into both witching hour and shadow just to pack on top of that outer edge of that glitter shadow. And then I'm just going to take my brush and I'm going to go into the shade Luna, which is this beautiful shade right here. I find that this one is a slightly different texture than the shimmer that I used yesterday, which was Constellation. This one seems to be slightly more putty like. I did use a blending brush to pick up the shadow yesterday, but because I am using a flat brush, I'm actually finding that it takes more effort to actually pick the shadow up on this brush than it did yesterday. Just food for thought. I don't really have final thoughts, but I did just want to kind of let you guys know where I'm at right now when it comes to at least the two shimmers that I have tried on my lids. This is a beautiful shade though. Stunning shade. Okay. And then I took a blending or a pencil brush. This happens to be from Mikasa. I think the brand is no longer a thing. And I went into Milky Way, which is the pinky duochrome. and it shifts from pink to blue. As you can see on my eye, at least from my perspective, I only see the blue. I don't see any pink at all. Okay, so I am just going to clean off the brush very quickly again. And something that I did notice, and I will kind of go back and forth between the brushes. Sometimes I'll use the Sigma, sometimes I'll use the Mikasa, is that the shade I lost above my metallic. So I want to bring that back. So I'm going to mix between Witching Hour and Shadow, take the slightest bit of shadow, because shadow is quite pigmented, and just what I like to do is just lightly blend on that outer edge, just to make the appearance of maybe a better cut crease than I did do. And with using this brush, it doesn't apply too much product, but it also gets across the look, you know? So that's pretty much the final look. I do need to do liner and mascara and all of that jazz. I did do a wing liner today. It became a kind of whole kit and caboodle, honestly, at the end. But I did use my NYX Epic liner. And what I did do is blend it into the shadow and... what was the purple? The shadow and Witching Hour combination in this outer V. I blended it in so it was seamless. So it's really only just the line and then it's the shadow. And then I put my lashes on top, and I put my liner in my waterline, which is from the Pastel Dreams line from LA Girl, and this is in Magic Mint. So I'm gonna do that. I'll tell you guys the style and the brand of lashes that I have on today. Mascara, it's just my normal Sky High. So let me do all that really quickly, and then I'll kind of wrap up this tutorial today. Alrighty guys, so this is the finished look. I don't know about y'all, but I am truly vibing with this look today. I feel like it looks so dark, so sultry. Again, I feel like I'm low-key matching my shirt. I think that the green pulls enough, and it's kind of so contrasting with that purple that it low-key, and because I added quite a bit of that black, that it ultimately just looks like black and green, and it works with the shirt. I am loving it. I will say that the shimmer is actually a duochrome. I didn't realize that until I did my kind of like final look, but when I turned my head, I could see the shift. This shifts from quite a warm purple to a quite deep but cool toned blue. I actually really like that. And then of course, like I said, the inner corner is a pink to blue. So base wise, everything is Project Pan. I do kind of have the latest favorite lip combination, Project Pan, cheeks, all of that, nothing special. Okay, so lashes, I have the Ardell Lash Contour in this style Outer Volume, and this is the dramatic elongating effect. I did have to trim a little bit off the edge because it was just a little too long for my eye shape, but I really enjoy these lashes. I think they really added to the look ultimately. And that's it for look number 2. I have one more look, which I will be doing in Natural Daylight tomorrow before I head to work. So it will be a work appropriate look. There definitely will be no lashes for tomorrow's look, and work appropriate for me really doesn't mean much. So we'll probably have some fun with these 2 blues that I haven't played with. And then what else have I not played with? I haven't played with this brown or the night vision shade. So I'll have some fun with that. And I'll also kind of give you guys my thoughts as of right now after doing 3 looks with this palette. So I hope you guys are enjoying it so far. Let's get into look number 3. Alrighty guys, so just a work appropriate look on your girl's eyes today. I really do have to go to work though, so this is going to be interesting. But I did want to play with as many of the shades that I hadn't played with prior, so I kind of set myself up for that. Anyways, let's go in with the first shadow that I put on my eyes, which is Obscurity. And I took this ECM S33. I really like this brush. It really picks up product nicely. And it's a really nice shape. So what I'm doing is just apply this to the lower lash line. And with whatever product is left, we're just gonna swoosh her up. Okay, I will have to re-intensify that later, but it's no big deal at all. Then I actually did get a little bit of Nightfall and deepen that whole kit and caboodle up. Okay, and then I did just a splash of black with a little bit more Nightfall, just to get a little bit more dimension down there. Like I said, I will have to re-intensify that area after I do my crease and my transition shade, but it's no worries. For that shade, I went back into Gloom, which is this kind of poopy brown shade, and I'm using once again that S33. I did wipe it off, and I think it looks like a different shade than it did in the first time I used it, mainly because of this base. So this Natasha Denona base, I do enjoy the actual product, but it seems that if it is even slightly wet, it will change the shade of the actual shadows. And unfortunately, well, for whatever reason, because I have these nails, I can't really dry it off the way I'm used to, and I'm still getting used to the technique of blending it out with a brush. And so yeah, that's what happened, but it's okay. I still kind of like the look. I like that it's actually darker than it otherwise would have been. It kind of helps everything to blend in to my skin. I then just reach into a couple other products just to kind of get that product blended a little bit better. Like I said, mainly just because the Natasha Denona base, if it is wet, it really has the product stick. And I kind of want a blended look so that, you know, my eyes don't catch too much attention. It's going to catch attention. I can't do anything about, well, I can. I could not go to work like this, but I'm not going to put this makeup on just to take it off. So yeah, it's all good. So that's pretty much the matte work, but I do add a little bit of matte black later on. But anyways, then I'm going to take a Sonia G Builder 1. This is a really good natural hair brush, and I'm actually going into Nightfall. Where is that? Night Vision, I'm sorry. I'm going into Night Vision right here, and I don't know, it just kind of worked. I find that this Sonia G brush actually picks up this formulation a lot better than the synthetic brush that I was doing. So if you are somebody who does not like to buy natural hair brushes for whatever reason, I would recommend, at least for this particular shade right now, I would recommend using your finger. As I said, I don't think I've used my finger at all in any of these tutorials. Some days I feel like using my finger, some days I don't, and I just haven't. Plus I put the nails on for the last 2 tutorials, so I just couldn't. But I have a feeling that this formulation, this particular metallic, will pick up better with a finger or a, like I said, a natural hair brush, which I'm finding it personally to pick up a lot better with a natural hair brush. Inner corner highlight, we're switching into a BH Cosmetics 11 brush, and I'm going into the last shade that I haven't tested out, which is Dusk, and I am throwing that in my inner corner. Does it match? Probably not, but you know, like I said, I wanted to use all of the shades because I was so close to using all of the shades, and I did today. Last thing that I'm going to do when it comes to the actual eyeshadow palette is I'm going to take this flat brush. This happens to be the Pro shader from Sephora brand, and I'm going to go into shadow, and I just kind of want to make a faux liner right here. No big deal at all. And you know what? I actually think I'm going to switch it up. I did this simple little line on the other eye with this brush, and it worked, but I think I'm going to take it up a notch and actually use the matte shadow to create a wing. Okay, so this is going to take me a little while, and I really don't have the time for this, but I've now started it and I can't stop. So I am going to just do the wing for both eyes. I probably will go between this, and I do have a couple of liner brushes, so I will just go back and forth. I'm going to do that, fix everything up, make sure I put liner and mascara on this eye, and then I'll come up to show you guys the finished look. Alrighty guys, so this is the finished look. And overall for me, I am really enjoying this particular palette. I'm loving the color variation. I think I could do easily another look with the particular quads, and I will be very excited to do that as I continue to test this palette out. I think that this is now a good quality. Now granted, I don't have my NYX glitter glue, so I can't tell you guys how these kind of more foily shimmery shadows react to that particular glitter glue, because I know in my Silent Night they just did not get along. Not that it was a bad thing, it was just something to know. Overall though, like I said, I'm enjoying this palette. I'm enjoying more of the brand, and I can't wait to actually get more products from the brand. I think I'm actually going to use, like I said before, one of my 2 makeup purchases in the next 3 months to actually pre-order those palettes, because I am very excited and I kind of want to just own everything that this brand releases. So that's pretty much all I got to say. Crazy look to go to work with, but I do wear glasses. They're clear though, so they're not going to really hide anything, but you know, when in Rome, let's just go with it. So yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video overall. Like I said, final thoughts, I'm enjoying it. I would recommend it if you can pick it up, if you can pre-order it, all that jazz. I will see you guys in my next video. Alrighty guys, bye.